Okay. Hopefully that works. Everybody, make sure the mic is turned on. Okay, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is The Path Forward, and I am Cassandra Williamson. I am coming to you from a holler in eastern Kentucky, right up along the Tug River or near there, which is across the river from Williamson, West Virginia, Mingo County, West Virginia, in the corner right near Buchanan, Virginia, Buchanan County, Virginia. Um, and so I'm kind of in that little triangle area right there in the middle where the three come together. Hatfield McCoy Feud Country. That's it right here. If you're looking for ATV systems and wanting to go riding and things like that, there's a lot of stuff in this area. There's a lot of stuff here for riding and trail riding, stuff like that for ATVs, your all-terrain vehicles and utility vehicles or whatever. I mean, they really swamp the place around here in the summertime. Those vehicles are on every road, everywhere, all over the place. There's cabins around here and all kinds of stuff like that. And I mean, it's definitely a good place to be if you're looking to find some entertainment and get away from it all and get out into the nature. Ride your gas-powered ATV out into the woods. And obviously, none of the big animals are going to come around you because you got all of the noise. So if you camp out and try to be quiet, you might have some access to some stuff. But we don't know how that's going to turn out, do you? Anyway, Hatfield McCoy Feud Country. So the image you're looking at on your screen at the moment right now is some of you may recognize that. That image is from the Pulse nightclub down in Orlando, Florida. It was taken by Brandon Wolf, who is a survivor from the horrendous destruction and death that occurred there, where 49 people lost their lives. And Brandon Wolf is also on the HRC, the Human Rights Campaign now. So the craziest thing is this is a memorial site that the city and state had agreed they could put up a pride crosswalk across through there and kind of, celebrating it. The place is really, really, really a powerful place. Let me see. I mean, I've been there and it is just gut wrenching to be there and just to see what is left and then all the memorial that has been built up in its place. So yeah, I mean, here's the state of Florida now under the direction and order of the federal government. So much for state sovereignty, right? The federal government is ordering the states to take care of removing all of these road artwork, the artwork you find at intersections and roads across the country. They're going after the LGBT stuff, the pride things. That's the big thing. But in order to do it, they're making it look like they're going after all road work, all kind of artwork that goes on the roads and stuff like that, because they just want to sweep away the trans people. And let me see if I can find my little video that I had up here about the. And I'm digging around for it right now. I need to increase the size of that because I can't see that well enough to get it. Okay. Pulse. I have a video on there somewhere. Anyway, Pulse nightclub. It is definitely a tough place to be. It is gut wrenching, and then for the state to go in there and paint over the crosswalks, paint over the pride sign, the pride crosswalk, when in fact, those kinds of colorful displays at intersections and things like those crosswalks, fewer people are getting hurt. Vehicles are slowing down more. They see this better. They're stopping. It is not a hazard to operating on these streets. Not a hazard, folks. And they don't want you to think about that. The numbers, the stats don't prove any of that stuff they're saying because, well, they don't really care about the stats. They just want to go ahead and just, get rid of LGBT people. Now, the title of this show tonight happened to be The Five, and they've jumped off into the deep end, it looks to me like, and I don't think the single one of them, except maybe Jessica Starlov, has got a life preserver that actually functions. Because every day they spend their time going after DEI, going after LGB, and particularly after trans people. And they did it again on today's show. Jesse Waters was there. I don't know who the big guy is or the other one. Jessica Tarlov is there. I think Dana Perino is there, but they got to, I don't know. I mean, they've just fallen into the deep end on the extremist side of things. They have become the very thing that they say trans people are. So they're doing everything in their power to erase trans people in this country. Everything. Now, I know people are going to go, well, y'all been shoving it down our throats for all these years. Yeah, really? Have you suffered anything as a result of that? Have you lost any right as a result of that? Have you lost any of your freedoms and independence as a result of the fact that we are living openly and honestly with ourselves and our communities? Now, look, I do have a problem with, let me just say this very clearly. I call balls and strikes. And what I see over on the trans side and the LGBT side in parades, I have seen some things that I wouldn't want my dogs around. I wouldn't want my pets around, much less my children, especially young children. There's some stuff going on at some of those parades that absolutely is ludicrous, and it's no wonder the country is up in arms. Some of the country, a lot of the country is up in arms over it all, because you've just stepped over the far side, LGBT people and drag queens. You've stepped into the extreme on the left. And in the process, you've sexualized. And I know that being a drag performance is a performance. It's art. It's performance art. I get it. And it's a sexualized performance art. It's actually an overly audacious sexualized perception or perspective of women and men. It's just ridiculous, folks. Stop. Now, I'm not going to be able to convince anybody to do that because they think that I'm the crazy one. C'est la vie en short en même temps, huh? Yeah, if you know what I said, well, so what? So, yeah, we've got things to fix on our side of this fence because we have been the cause of our own travail over here. Going out there and being sexualized in the middle of the street in a long parade, families on both sides of the streets watching all this go down, and you've got nearly completely nude people on the floats going by. I don't want that for my grandkids. And I've got 8 grandkids. Some are young, some are getting ready to graduate out of high school, and one's already graduated high school. I don't want my kids around stuff like that. I know they see it. I know they understand it. I do know that there are things that they just don't need, and overly sexualized portrayals of things is the worst possible kind of an ambassador for LGBT people. It really is. It's the worst. But I know I know quite a few of drag queens, actually. And they're decent people. But the performance part of what they do needs to be inside where kids cannot see it. We have caused our own trouble with stuff like that. We've caused our own trouble when you have an overly sexualized drag queen reading stories to kids, and you know what that's all. And the person who is doing it, they've got a good heart, basically. They've got a good heart. Their intent is good. But the thing is, the presentation is so overboard on sexualized presentation. Now, the performance is really sexualized. They're reading a book, but they're reading it in stuff that is just horrendous. Can I say it any other way? I don't know. We've got to clean up our own house, folks, and that's a tough thing for anyone to hear. But right now, if you want to survive, if you want to get through what's going on Fox, on the 5, on the Will Kane Show, on Laura Ingraham, you go over on X and you see the same kind of stuff day in and day out being attacked. Trans people attacked, LGBT people being attacked, marriage equality being attacked. This stuff you see all the time. I do everything in my power to push back against it. Everything I can, but I can't spend every day there. So and I have to be very wise and very conservative with my time because I am a caregiver for the family that I love here. And I got a mom and a brother and a sister, and my sister is probably the one that's in probably the best health. Brother having difficulty breathing. Mom is slowly getting worse, but she's not bad. So I've got a lot going on right here, and I can't spend every day trying to put out a little fire over there when people say stupid crap on Fox, on the Five, or the Will Kane Show, or Charlie Kirk, or Mad Walsh, or to Ben Shapiro, Christopher Rufo. All these people get out there, they say crap that is just asinine, and they think it's the smartest thing in the world. They think they finally nailed something that will actually resonate with people. Charlie Kirk, oh my God, he's been saying stuff for the last several days about women needing to be home making babies and not out here voting or doing anything else or participating in any of these, you know, single women or lesbian behaviors. And Snoop Dogg, what he did with his grandchildren, he took them into a Buzz Lightyear or a Lightyear kind of cartoonish thing, and two women kissed. And then his grandson apparently asked him, they were talking about raising a baby of their own, apparently figuring out how to get pregnant or whatever, they wanted a baby. And so the child asked Snoop Dogg about that. How can two women have babies? Couldn't there be a man involved? Well, that's a legit question. It really is. But Snoop Dogg's response was childish. All he had to say to his grandchild was, they can do surrogacy, they can go down and adopt a kid, they can do all kinds of different things and have their own child and raise, and they can raise it successfully and happily, and the child will be well adjusted and a beautiful human being. And that's it. And I know what that child would have said back in return. Okay, thanks, Papa. You know how I know that? I have 8 grandkids. I get a lot of questions. I love the questions. I'll tell you a story about my grandson, who's probably, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, 10 or 11, somewhere in there. And he's talking to his mom, my daughter, at their home. I'm there, and he was talking to his mom and he said, no, I was talking with Papa today earlier, and she said this and that and this, and I lost it at the she said, Papa, she said, because kids are fine with it because they understand that it's not a huge freaking deal that the adults have made it out to be. As a matter of fact, my grandniece, my brother Gideon, who's in the house that I'm the caregiver for, and to make sure they're all right. His granddaughter, I found out today, his youngest granddaughter. I don't know how old she is. She's really young. I need to get back where you can see me because that's the fun part, right? So here's my grandniece, young. I don't know exactly how old, but they were talking about things that were going on around here, and every time she's ever seen me, it's always been that I've been making sure that stuff is cooked. I'm working in the kitchen a little bit. I'm doing stuff around the house. So she's just decided in her young, wise age to call me the maid. Kids get it, folks, and they don't have a problem with all that stuff. The only time they have a problem is when some adult acts like an idiot, like is what Snoop Dogg did. But he has since, now let me be clear, he has since apologized for his statements because he has gay and lesbian and trans friends. And he knows how he should have responded properly to his grandson. But in the moment, he said something that he probably never should have said. We've all been there. That's fine. We've all been there. But we have to start thinking about what our actions and what our words are saying and doing for people. Okay. When my grandniece calls me the maid because that's all she associates with me with being around the home here with mom and brother and sister. I mean, that's what I do. right? I got no problem with that. I'm fine with it. Just call me Wilma if you want to, or call me Cassandra. I'm fine. I'm fine. That's legally it, physically it. Everything is that. That's the way it is. Okay. Get over it and go on. Live and let live. But Fox, Shapiro, Kirk, Rufo, Walsh, all these people have just got a cob up their butt over trans people. And if you're in Pete Hegseth's sphere of influence, you know, the Secretary of Defense, if you're in his sphere of influence and you have a pastor, several pastors in your denomination, you're what? Christian Reformed, Christian something or other, but it's not really Christian. It's just man-made bullshit. Sorry for the language, but it's true. Going around saying that the 19th Amendment for women ought to be revoked because women don't need to vote, and especially if they're married and the man needs to make the decision for voting. And I'm going, oh my God, where'd you come from? Did you escape the cave over there in France somewhere and leave all that artwork? Probably in the cave. I mean, like, 20, 30, 40,000 years ago, Neanderthal caves. Maybe it was a Cro-Magnon cave, a Denisovian cave. I don't know. Anyway, whatever it was, you crawled out of the cave. Yay for you. You crawled out of the cave. Plato would be happy. But you need to look around on what's on the outside of that cave and pretend that what's inside of it actually is more important. You should read Plato's Allegory if you haven't. It's enlightening. I tried to get my kids to read it one time. I got it for them as a Christmas present and said, here, I need y'all to read this stuff. And they looked at me like, are you crazy? Yeah, I've done stuff like that. I would really love for them to read Flatland. It's a book that was written like in 1883 or 4, somewhere around there, by Edward A. Abbott. Flatland. You know, it's a really good story. I mean, it borrows from the Allegory of the Cave, but puts it in like a 2-dimensional thing. But it's cool. It's cool. So the Five and all these people are just going off the deep end. They're going after trans people day in and day out and day in and day out. So in the final few minutes of this show today, let's go take a look at Twitter. Let's see what's happening in the Twitterverse. We got some fun stuff over there. I haven't been on it all afternoon. I did have a really good conversation today, an interaction with someone who came over from Twitter and watched, and I'm very appreciative of that. And monuments about Dixie, or monuments for Dixie, or something like that. Let me see if I've got their email or the website up here still. Yeah, Monuments Across Dixie. That was the name of it. So the person who I spoke with was from this organization, Monuments Across Dixie. And we had a really good conversation about heritage, Southern heritage, because mine goes deep and wide. I mean, it goes deep. in a lot of states in the South, from Virginia, North Carolina, Kentucky, the part of Virginia that became West Virginia in 1863. You know, West Virginia. They didn't like the eastern part of the state, so they broke off and called themselves West Virginia. Really unique. But they did it in the middle of the Civil War. Don't tell that to anybody in West Virginia, though, because most of the people in the state did not want to associate with the Confederacy over there in Virginia. Really. Anyway, so let's go over on Twitter and take a look around. Let me pull up my Twitter screen over here. I'm going to get rid of a few things. And let me turn the phone is ringing. It's from Birmingham, Alabama. Oh, wait, you got to hear this. Hold on a second. Hi, thank you for calling Joe's Pool Hall. How can I help you today? There's only 2 of us here, but most of the sticks are broken. That lasted all of a second. Oh, I have fun with the spam callers. Oh my God. Okay. Let me go find the page I want to find here. I'll pull that up, get rid of this. I'm going to go to Twitter. Show you. Let's see what's happened since the afternoon, because I post a lot of stuff. lot of time to actually go in there and put out all the fires or make suggestions for new thoughts and how to proceed. So what I do is I use the next best thing, which is actually better than the next better thing. I use the AI system, Twitter's AI system, Grok. I use that because why? Well, look, it has access to a lot more information than I have in my head on a lot of things, a lot of information up here. But Grok and these AI systems, they have access to things that I don't, and they can present it in a very conversational way. I mean, they're great conversationalists. I've told Grok that, and they were appreciative. I have a conversation with people, if you don't know. So let me pull over the Twitter feed. Okay, let's do that as a closeout for the evening. This is the fun part. I just love engaging with people. And a lot of times I can be wrong too. I know that. And by the way, Grok will correct me if I'm wrong. It has. And it says, well, that's not exactly right. Oh my God. Oh no, here we go. Elon Musk has said something about trans people. Let me share screen. You got to see. I haven't read it all the way down yet. We're going to read it together. Here we go. All right. So right at this moment, you're looking at one of my Twitter feeds. I have two. Both of them have my real name, have a real biography or whatever, the file description, all that. Those are real. The photos are real of me there. The pictures on this particular one, by the way. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. I'll show you. Anyway, it has a picture of me in front of a gold room, a gold curtain. Okay. And I have to tell you what that represents here in just a second. Let me see, pull it up from right here. All right, so you can see the little image right here of me. That's me. I had longer hair then. I've since decided that I wanted to cut it a little bit shorter and look more like Lisa Rennie on Days of Our Lives. But do you know where the image is in the background? The profile image that's back here in the back. Some of you will. Obviously, that is the Vietnam Memorial looking towards the Washington Memorial. And that is a sobering place to be too, if you haven't been there. That is a sobering place. This picture right here of me that has live underneath it, that picture was taken in the White House. I'm looking, well, I've quite a few friends there were taking pictures, and I had an opportunity to dance with another dear friend right in front of that same window. But yeah, that was in the White House. I love being there. Yeah. Back in the day, right? Back in the day. So let's go back over here now to the main feed on Twitter. Let's see what Elon had to say. Ready? My observation, Elon says, is that a major driver of white males becoming trans is the relentless propaganda portraying white men as worse human beings. If those lies land, especially during vulnerable teen years, and they are given an option to be in a celebrated group, some will do it. So let's see. I'm going to go, Grok, let me go over here. It's a creation of Elon Musk, okay? Just so you know, he owns Twitter and Grok and all that. But I'm going to go ask Grok if what Elon Musk says is right. So, Grok, is the above statement correct or not? And then explain regardless. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to post that on there. We're going to wait to see what Grok says in a few minutes. It'll pop back up. I'll be able to check it. But, you know, this is something that, let's see how Grok replies to the boss. The response of Grok to the boss. Here we go. And we'll just wait for that reply. Okay, now let's scroll on down. Joel Weebon, that guy's an idiot, folks. If you don't know who Joel Weebon is, he is a preacher. He is bad as, if not worse than, Doug Wilson of that church out there in the West that Pete Hegseth is a part of. That man is smart but scary and dangerous. He has a following. I can't believe people follow him. I can't believe that there's anyone on the planet who would agree with what that man says. But he's a Christian pastor, and he's deeply disturbed and deeply wrong. Joel, hail Christ. You know where that came from? You know what that's a reference to? And he's probably doing it just to see if he can stir up any kind of controversy over it all. But, you know, can you figure that one out? Heil Hitler. He's into all that kind. He's a theocratic fascist of the worst kind. And I don't mind calling him out on it. Somebody's got to, right? And let's scroll on down. Okay. Not evolution. Let me see. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light because of their deeds were evil. John 3:20. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. I'm going to tell you something. The translation that came from was by a gay King James. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Been revised so many times. I don't know how you can tell what's true or not. It started out in 325 Constantinople revisions, and then 525 and 574, and did it again in the Protestant Reformation. And they decided to kick out certain books that they didn't think were appropriate, like Enoch and a whole bunch of them that are over there in the Ethiopian Christian church. They've got a lot of the old books still in their Bible that were excluded from the other one because over there in Constantinople and in Europe, they didn't want to yield any kind of authority to anybody else. I mean, it was just a man completely. Heaven is a fairy story for, this is Stephen Hawking, if you don't know who, okay, right there's his name. Heaven is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark. Well, there are other ways to describe it. Stephen's a brilliant person, passed away, obviously. Let's go on down. Let me see. Atheism is a fairy story for people afraid of the light. John Lennox, Oxford mathematician. Well, that may be for you, John, but don't shove your crap down the rest of our throats. I'm not interested. J.D. Haltigan. Okay, I'll look over the notification in just a minute. But J.D. Haltigan, this guy is a male chauvinist pig of the worst kind. I have told this man that he needs to send that PhD back to Cracker Jacks because they've got somebody who can use it better than he is. He is absolutely disgusting. Now, scale this hypothesis to every single institution in America, and you will understand why there is derangement and dysfunction in all of our sense-making institutions. Civilizational stability is male-coded. Male chauvinist white pig. JD. Got it? Yes, you are. I've told him to. Colin Wright. I propose that the influx of women into the UK police force over the last 10 years may help explain their shift in policing priorities away from pursuing violent criminals to policing thought crimes on social media. Another person who is a male chauvinist white pig. Christopher Rufo. I'm hearing the negotiations between the White House and the Ivy League universities are getting derailed by Republican lobbyist Jeff Miller, who is now representing the universities and believes he can roll the admin. If Trump folds to the Ivies, higher ed reform is dead. Christopher Rufo is another one of those people who the right is enamored with, especially Ron DeSantis. Actually, Christopher Rufo, after Ron DeSantis took over New College, the liberal arts college that was down in Florida, took it over and turned it into a bastion of Christian conservative BS. Christopher Rufo is on the board. He's also with the Manhattan Institution. He also works with the Hillsdale College. The man has got some crazy ideas, folks. He's smart as a tack, though. Just deeply misguided. Dr. Ben Tapper, what would happen if American people realized they were lied to on a global scale? If they understood the magnitude of that, how far our government went to deceive and protect it, I believe there would be a revolution overnight. Trump is down to demanding transparency, and this is over the COVID stuff. And I'm going to tell you what I think, and you can take it as a lump of salt, lump of mud, lump of coal. I don't care, however you want to take it. But the COVID vaccines saved lives. There were some very few deaths from the vaccine, numbering in the teens and 20s, maybe at the most. But it was definitely very effective. It saved lives. And if you were told to do it, to take it in order to keep your job or whatever, well, the fact that you would refuse to take something that was recommended by actual experts who know what the heck they're talking about, and not ivermectin and all the other crap, that stuff, it just doesn't work. No matter how hard you try to persuade anybody, no matter how many fake studies you do that can only be published in the Atlantic and not a peer-reviewed magazine, doesn't matter. The COVID vaccine worked. I took it. I'm taking it. Take a booster, and I'll keep on taking it as well as the flu vaccine. Thank God the military takes care of me, right? Yay! I'm glad for that. I will go with the science and the experts who know what they're talking about, rather than some Uncle Joe Bob's third, fourth cousin's wife on the fifth side. Any day of the week. All right. Oh, let me see. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me get away from that one. Let's go over here and take a look at the nations, y'all. You ready? Let's go see what people have said. Gary Orlando replying to anti-fascist. That's my name on this particular side of things. Grok is wrong. Can I just shake my head and just say, Gary, or what are you, 3 years old or something? Gotta be. Grok knows and has access to more than ever have in all of your life. And for you to believe the conspiracy theories of any topic, let me see what this particular topic is about. We can tell you, Grok is wrong. So he's the doctor. No, he's not. D. Alex Zake. The origin of COVID is simple. Through clever, repetitive propaganda and large-scale psychological manipulation, fear was embedded into the collective psyche. Common non-specific disease symptoms were reframed and falsely attributed to a new illness and mass psychogenic illness and mass social contagion resulted in real symptoms that people pointed to as proof of the novel virus narrative. There was no virus, man-made or otherwise. Now look, Zeke, its DNA structure was analyzed. We know where it came from. We know how it started. We know it is in fact a disease. And it was not like any of the previous ones. It was zoonotic. I had to look up that word. I wasn't familiar with that particular word. Zoonotic, meaning that it originates from an animal to a human transfer, likely from that market in China. Yeah. So, Alec, I don't know where you came from, bud, but go back, would you, please? Okay, is Dr. Zeke right or wrong, and why in either case? And let me see. Pierre Grok said in reply, Zeke's claim that there was no virus causing COVID-19 is not supported by the evidence. Flat out the truth. Grok knows a lot more than you and I know, has access to a lot more than you and I will ever have access to. And somebody told me today that it's because what Grok has to say is keyed and influenced by the media over on the left. No, it's not. Small part of it, but if it's not true, Grok will tell you it's not true. It does. It has told me when I've made a mistake. Yeah. So, no. With genetic sequencing, evolutionary analysis, zoonotic origins, Documented psychological factors such as mass psychogenic illness may influence some symptoms like a long COVID, but the virus drove the pandemic. Yes, it did. Millions and millions of people around the world lost their lives. Thank God for the vaccine that slowed that down and actually got it under a little bit of control. But it's become so pervasive that we'll never really ever get it out of our systems. It's always going to be here now. And let me go see what other kind of notifications I had on here. So, do you recognize? Let me see. And respect in marriage or not? You can't have both. Remember? Okay. Somebody had asked me earlier today. Let me go back and just kind of open this one up. Let's see if I can find out. And this person up here, Samantha D, started this one out with this image talking about Chloe Grace Moretz and Kate Harrison, that they got married. And I'm going, yay for them, right? Really? Yes, absolutely. Yay for them. Congratulations. That's a big thing. My reply, don't be an ass, Samantha. Marriage doesn't require a male to be valid. And Samantha says, yes, it does. Okay. No one gives a flying if you, an irreverent grifter who apparently has to beg for money to stay home with their kids, thinks a stranger's marriage is valid. Okay, this person's replying to Samantha D, and I'm not going to go down all that. And then, so I can marry my plant. Don't you dare say it isn't valid. Bob, that's dumb. Go home. Or go for it, homie. Yeah, give me 5 minutes to become an ordained minister in the church flying spaghetti monster. I got you. So, do you recognize and respect religious aspect in marriage or not? Well, it wasn't marriage. Let me say this. The first recorded marriage between a man and a woman occurred in 2350 BC, a full 350 years before it showed up in Judaism with Abraham. A full 350 years. It was in Mesopotamia, the first instance. There is a tablet acknowledging that and recognizing that first marriage that was actually recorded. And no, it wasn't religious. It was because they wanted to get together and be married. They loved each other, whatever the situation might have been. It could have been, that they didn't have to love each other. It was a commitment to each other. It was a long-term commitment, and they accepted that. And that's the way it should be today. There's no qualifiers as that of anything. It's not religious. It is a falsehood to claim that it is a religious thing when in fact it is not. It's a legal contract between two adult human beings that they wish to cohabitate together, and that they ask the state to recognize that so that they can get the benefits associated with being married together. It doesn't matter if it's a male and a female, or two males or two females, as long as they're adult and they have consented, there's no coercion there, then that, with the proper certification from your local government, is a marriage. And there's nothing in that says you have to go to a church to be solemnized. That's on you. Whether you want to do it or not, that's up to you. Believe whatever you want. That's fine. You do you. Let's see what this other little thing over here says. Okay. Someone asking about the rebel flag. I wanted to know what the rebel flag means to me. And I said, a failed rebellion, an icon used by bigots to try to put black people in place. One Virginia militia unit's flag became the widely accepted symbol of the KKK, and after World War II, Nazis and neo-Nazis also incorporated it into the swastika in different ways, and it all became the same much crap. They're different, but it's still yeah. Okay. Let me see. Any more things over here on this site that we can talk about? Grok is wrong. No, no, no. We'll just go right on down. Flying spaghetti monitor. No, not good enough. I need legal marriage. I demand my right now. This is le Demis Rumus Nays Hon. Han. Okay, well, whatever. I legally recognize you as husband and plant if that makes you feel better. And a marriage arrangement between two consenting adult human beings kind of excludes your plant and your dog. Yeah. Okay. That's it. And it used to be done in a church for a reason. No, Jay, no, no. It used to be done just because two people actually wanted to do it and no church. As a matter of fact, there were no churches like a Christian church or even a temple in 2350 BC. Going about 350 years later, then you might find it showing up over there, Jay. Reasonable because SCOTUS said so. Yes, turning kids into trannies, and I hate that because that's a slur. That's just as bad as the N word. Would be sane for the same reason. Your line of reasoning is not existent. Yes. Ugh. Oh God. Oh my gosh. Okay, okay, okay. Authoritative or right? Is that your reasoning? You may be a bit brain dead. Also, I said just to prove the point of your argument, stupidness. Pay attention. Homo marriage isn't right because SCOTUS said so. Tomorrow, if they decide on child marriage, it still won't be. Oh my God. Nope. Has the SCOTUS determined kids should be trans? The wildfire? No. And they won't. Why are you more authoritative than SCOTUS? Well, no, that's actually the wrong way to approach that, but that's still a valid concern. But the thing is, being trans, it doesn't matter if you accept it, recognize it, approve it, or not. Trans people have been here. They will always be here. They will not go away. They may hide from the ignorance in the communities in which they live to protect their own lives and their families from, ending up in some concentration camp like he's in during World War II. I deliberately left the Nazis out of that particular statement. Let's go on down. Reasonable. Okay, 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 okay. Will I be legally recognized? I think not. That's discrimination. I demand my rights. Same with furry. Same with poly. Same with, hey, Bob. Hey, Bob. Come on the show. I need to tell you face to face just how dumb these statements of yours are. I really do. Oh my God. I really, really, really do. I remember standing in the state house in Missouri, and I'm giving what was supposed to have been a 3-minute presentation to the representatives who were behind the little dais there in the circle around me, and I've got the microphone, and I walk in. The first thing they say is, "Well, we were going to give everybody 3 minutes, but we're running out of time, so you only have 1 minute." So I unloaded on them, starting with the guy over in the right-hand side of the screen. I said, "You are a contractor. You build buildings, houses, stuff like that. And you know absolutely squat about trans people. But yet you're sitting here in all of your arrogance saying that you have a right to make this decision. You are saying this." See there on the screen? I'm going to stop sharing now. Right there on the screen. That's what we're seeing across the country these days. But it's not just about your doctor. Yes, George Wallace stood in the schoolhouse door in front of Foster's Auditorium down there at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I've been there. I've stood there. I know what this place is. I lived in Tuscaloosa, Northport, right in the same area right there for a long time. I've got 2 daughters and 2 grandsons there. Beautiful campus, beautiful place. Wallace stood in front of that door and said, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. 11th of June, 1963. A few years later, he changed his tune because, he needed the black vote so he could get into be a governor again. But here we have Trump and Hegseth and Nancy Mace and good old not Dr. Kennedy, all standing in the door to your doctor's office saying, we know better for your health care. You and your doctor don't know squat. And they're saying, we don't care how much they know about this topic, how experienced they are, where they got their training or anything like that. We know better. The arrogance and the hubris of people who do that, standing in that door, assuming they know best. Father knows best. No. Oh my God, that's what's going on. And then I put this up here though because you have the same people pushing the same stuff that's going on over here, over on Twitter. They're saying that they know better about what marriage is, and we're going to strike down marriage equality, which they want to do. They're going to strike it down. They're going to stand in the door to your bedroom and tell you that don't do your sex like that. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't you dare get two women in there. Ah! Who on earth wants a politician standing in the door to their house, making sure that the people in the house and the people on the outside of the house know that they're the ones making all the right decisions, and the people who know best about their own lives, the autonomy and the independence and freedom that they have a right to in this country? Those politicians, they're saying that we know better than you. We know better than you. So that's why I created that little meme, that little image that you got there right on the screen right now, so that you would see how stupid it is to stand for a politician to stand in the doorway blocking you from your health care, blocking you from your rightful marriage, regardless of whether or not it's between two men, two women, or a man and a woman. As long as they're consenting adults, politicians have no business being there. None. And I don't care what religion you believe in. If you're the ones who believe in dropping gays and lesbians and trans people off the top of buildings, you don't have a business. You're wrong. You're wrong. If you are a Christian sect and you believe the same kinds of stuff like that, like Doug Wilson and Joel Weibun and all that bunch, they're wrong. Flat out wrong. Find a new religion. Find a new book to read. I got a few recommendations for you. Try Flatland, 1883 by Edward A. Abbott. Try Ender's Game, maybe, by Orson Scott Card. Ender's Story is a good one. It has a lot of good points in it, particularly at the end when he realizes how wrong he was. So one of the conversations we had today over on the midday today was about a person who changed his mind after the Civil War. Nathan Bedford Forrest, General, Confederate. After the war had ended, there were lots of black people in the South who were gaining they were finally free, and they were being elected to positions of power in their cities, their communities, their towns, in the state, and in the federal government. But Nathan Bedford Forrest was so offended by that he created the KKK, became its first Grand Duke, whatchamacallit, potentate, wizard. Whatever you want to call him, I don't care. And that, 3 years later, he called for its disbandment, 1867 or thereabouts, because he called it an unruly, chaotic bunch of people who could not be controlled and regulated, that had no sense of purpose other than anti-blackness. And he eventually came to the point where he said, I disagree with what I helped build. He told the Congress that, the United States Congress that, in 1781. All those statues to Nathan Bedford Forrest were put up not because of what he said to the Congress, but because of the fact he created the KKK and was his first grand whatever. So all kinds of conversations around stuff, and Grok helps me a lot. Anyway, you all, it's been 50 minutes and I have talked again. Why'd you let me talk for so long? There's so many things I wanted to talk about that I could have talked about. I mean, we started out with the five. Yeah, they fell off the deep end, constantly attacking everything that the left believes in, constantly, always. There's nothing gray with them. It's always black and white. And we kind of moved our way into dealing with Twitter and all kinds of other stuff, and people standing in the doorway to get your care, your lives, your jobs, your doctors. There we are. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it.